My girlfriend said her love for me was cosmic, not romantic. I said cool. Then I stopped funding her artistic journey and started charging her rent. Her panic when she realized her free ride had ended was a masterpiece. My girlfriend of 2.5 years, Aura, sat me down on our crushed velvet sofa last Tuesday for what she called a vibrational alignment. I work in finance, so I immediately braced for a conversation that would have zero measurable data. I was not disappointed. She took my hands, looked at me with the same intense gaze she usually reserves for a new batch of ethically sourced crystals, and told me that while she loves me on a cosmic soul contract level, she's realized she isn't in love with me in a traditional romantic sense. She wanted to be honest, she said, because our connection was too important to be tainted by 3D expectations. Before I could ask the obvious question, she rushed to say she didn't want to break up. She loved our life, our apartment, our creative synergy. She just needed me to understand her truth. Then came the catchphrase I've come to dread. With a serene smile, she said, "You just can't flowchart the universe, Leo. I'm a 29-year-old man who literally makes flowcharts for a living. It's how we afford this condo with its floor-to-ceiling windows and her art studio, which is really just the second bedroom filled with half-finished canvases, incense burners, and about $5,000 worth of art supplies I paid for." I just nodded slowly and said, "Okay. Thanks for clarifying." The relief that washed over her face was palpable. She gave me a hug, told me my aura was so accepting, and floated off to watch a documentary about a woman who communicates with trees. I didn't sleep that night. I just kept replaying it. She wants the shared rent, the shared bed, the financed lifestyle, the emotional support boyfriend, but with the official designation of a cosmic friend. She wants all the benefits of a partner without any of the commitment. She likes me, but she's not in love with me. Fine. If my role has been downgraded to a supportive patron of the arts, then I'll act like one. A very business-like patron. Wednesday morning there was no kiss goodbye. No have a great day, my divine masculine counterpart text. When she texted me at noon asking if I could pick up more of her ludicrously expensive vegan cheese, I replied, "Sorry, swamped at work. You'll have to grab it. Let me know what I owe you for my half of the groceries this week." The three little dots that indicate someone is typing appeared and disappeared for a solid 10 minutes before she just sent back a single K. On my way home I drove past the artisanal frame shop where I was supposed to pick up the frame for her latest masterpiece, a canvas that was just various shades of beige. I called the shop and canceled the $500 custom order. That evening she'd made dinner. We ate, and when she tried to cuddle on the couch I gave her a brief platonic side hug and retreated to the armchair with my laptop. "Everything okay?" she asked, her brow furrowed. "Just giving you your energetic space," I said. "You can't flowchart the universe, right?" The little twitch in her eye was more entertaining than anything on Netflix. Thursday I took action. I spent the morning moving all my clothes and toiletries into the guest bathroom and setting up my laptop and a spare monitor in the art studio. When she came home from her intuitive painting workshop, she found me working amidst the smell of turpentine and patchouli. "What are you doing?" she asked, horrified. "Oh, I figured since we're essentially roommates on a shared soul journey, we should have our own spaces. It's healthier for our individual energetic fields," I explained using her own jargon. "Plus you need the bedroom for your cosmic stuff. I'll just sleep on the pull-out in here." "Roommates, Leo, we're still a couple," she argued. "Are we?" I asked calmly. "You're not in love with me." That sounds more like a friendship with benefits, and honestly the benefits package seems a little one-sided. "I'm not interested in that arrangement." The look on her face was a mixture of confusion and panic, like a psychic who just realized their crystal ball was actually a snow globe. She insisted that you can't flowchart the universe, and I agreed, noting that you also can't pay rent with good vibes. The math, as they say, did not check out. Friday night was the real test. She came home with 2 containers of expensive sushi, my favorite. "I thought we could have a special night," she said, lighting candles. I thanked her, we ate, and then I immediately Venmo'd her $65 for my half of the sushi. Then I went to the gym. My phone exploded. 15 texts. "Why are you being like this?" This is passive-aggressive. You're disrespecting my truth. My favorite was this is creating a blockage in my sacral chakra. I texted back. I'm not being aggressive at all. I'm respecting your stated position. You wanted honesty and I'm giving it to you by adjusting my behavior to match. No expectations. Just two cosmic friends sharing a space. When I got home, she was waiting. She accused me of being petty and childish. I just shrugged. I'm matching your energy. You want a friend who helps pay the bills. You've got one. A great one. But the boyfriend experience, the emotional investment, the financial support for your art career, the foot rubs, the future planning that's reserved for someone who is actually in love with me. I slept in the studio. It was the best night's sleep I'd had all week. Edit. For those asking, her art career consists of selling small paintings on Etsy for about $50 each. She sells maybe 2 a month. The rest of her time is spent channeling creative energy. Which looks a lot like napping. The condo lease is in my name only because her credit was in her words. In a retrograde cycle. Update 1. Welcome back to the circus. It's been a week since I initiated what I'm calling Operation Conscious Uncoupling of Finances. And Aura is spiraling in a way that's almost artistic. Her attempts to restore the boyfriend subscription have become increasingly desperate and frankly hilarious. The mental gymnastics she's performing would qualify her for the Olympics if hypocrisy were a sport. First off, let me address the comments. No, I'm not being passive-aggressive. I'm being maliciously compliant. I'm treating her exactly how I'd treat my buddy Dave if he told me we were cosmic soul friends but he needed me to pay his bills. I'd tell him to get a job. She said you can't flowchart the universe, so I've simply removed myself from her flowchart. So Monday. She tried to get physical. She came into the studio wearing some silky thing talking about reconnecting our physical energies and the potency of a sacred union. I politely declined. Aura, I'm not really comfortable being intimate with someone who isn't in love with me. She was flabbergasted. But we've been sleeping together for 2.5 years. She said. Yes. I replied. Back when I was operating under the assumption that this was a romantic partnership, not a sponsorship. Apparently my body wasn't on the free samples list for her spiritual journey. Tuesday is when the real fun began. See, we had an arrangement where all our shared expenses, groceries, dinners out, tickets to her friend's sound bath went on my credit card for the airline points. She was supposed to pay me back for her half, but somehow her transfers were always blocked by Mercury retrograde or some other nonsense. I never pushed it. But roommates split things 50-50. I spent an hour creating a beautiful color-coded spreadsheet, a masterpiece of financial data, and emailed it to her. It was an itemized list of her half of all shared expenses for the last 6 months. The grand total was $2,157. I even included links to the receipts. I sent it with the subject line, aligning our financial energies. The shriek from the bedroom was my confirmation that she had received my correspondence. She called me sputtering. Are you serious right now? Just settling up between cosmic roommates. I said cheerfully. No rush, but the end of the month would be great for my balance sheet. She stammered something about how she thought those were gifts, a man's way of showing provider energy. I reminded her we weren't in a relationship. We were just two souls co-creating a living experience. She hung up. Wednesday she deployed her secret weapon. Her best friend Serenity, who looks like she exclusively eats kale and disappointment. Serenity came over for dinner, Dutch treat of course, and proceeded to give me a lecture on how I was being unevolved and stifling Aura's divine feminine expression. She kept saying that relationships change and I needed to honor Aura's honesty. I let her finish, took a calm sip of water and asked, Serenity, would you want to be in a relationship with a man who explicitly told you he wasn't in love with you? Silence. Okay. I continued. And would you expect that man to continue paying for your apartment, your hobbies, and your food, all while knowing he viewed you as more of a spiritual colleague? More silence. Aura kicked her under the table, a move so unsubtle it could have been detected by seismic sensors. Serenity left shortly after, probably to sage herself clean of my toxic logical energy. Thursday was the kicker. Aura has a vintage van she calls the Art V. which she uses to drive to farmers' markets to sell her paintings. It broke down. The mechanic quoted her $2,500 for a new transmission. For the past 2 years, guess who has been the official sponsor of the RV? This guy. She texted me asking if I could front her the money because her own funds were tied up in an energetic investment. Translation. She's broke. I replied, wow, that's a lot of money. Sorry to hear that. Have you considered manifesting the funds or asking your spirit guides for a payment plan? The phone call was immediate and tearful. She doesn't have the credit for a payment plan. Turns out her credit isn't just in retrograde, it was blasted into a black hole by thousands of dollars of credit card debt from spiritual wellness retreats that she'd conveniently never mentioned. I sympathized, suggested she ask her parents or Serenity. But you always help me. She cried. I used to help my girlfriend. I corrected her. Roommates don't typically cover each other's major automotive expenses. She took a $60 Uber to her Reiki session the next day. As she says, you can't flowchart the universe. But apparently you can Uber through it on my dime. No more. Friday she finally broke. Full on tears. She said she didn't mean it like that. She was just feeling confused, maybe depressed, scared of how serious our karmic connection was getting. She is in love with me, she sobbed. She was just testing me. I let her finish and then asked quietly, so were you lying to me then, or are you lying to me now? That stopped the waterworks cold. The pivot to outrage was instantaneous. I was manipulating her. I was a monster. I calmly reminded her of her exact words. She'd even texted her sister. Finally told Leo my truth about not being in love. My spirit feels so much lighter. She'd shown me the text herself to prove how evolved she was. The receipts, as they say, were karmically aligned against her. She stormed off, but the panic is setting in. She knows she overplayed her hand. She thought she could have it all, but she forgot one crucial thing. You can't flowchart the universe, but you sure as hell can foreclose on it. Final update. It's over. The performance has ended, the curtain has fallen, and the lead actress has finally exited the stage. The last week was an extinction burst of manipulation so intense it could have powered a small city. But now my condo is quiet save for the hum of the fridge, and it smells like nothing at all, which is a massive improvement. After our last chat, Aura went full nuclear. She tried a few different tactics first. There was the love bombing phase. Elaborate vegan dinners wearing the outfits I liked, leaving little notes about my beautiful soul on my desk in the studio. I thanked her, politely Venmoed her for my share of the groceries, and ignored the notes. Then came the anger. Screaming that I was a spiritual vampire, draining her of her creative energy. I calmly recorded it one-party consent state, folks, and asked if she'd found a new apartment yet. The grand finale began when she called my parents. They live 3 hours away, and she got them to drive all the way down for an emergency intervention. She told them she was worried about me, that I'd had a sudden dark energetic shift and was closing off my heart chakra. She sold them a whole story about how she was trying to help me heal, but I was pushing her away. My mom called me worried sick. I came home to find them sitting on my couch looking concerned while Aura dabbed at her eyes with a silk handkerchief. The performance was flawless. A true artist at work. I sat down calmly, let her finish her monologue about my wounded masculine energy. And then I laid out the facts. The I'm not in love with you speech. The roommate agreement. The cancelled boyfriend subscription. The spreadsheet. My dad, a retired accountant who believes in numbers and not much else, looked at Aura with a deep analytical calm. So let me get this straight. He said, his voice dangerously quiet. You told my son you don't love him, but you're upset that he stopped paying for your what was it, honey? He asked my mom. Creative synergy. My mom, bless her heart, turned to Aura. Sweetheart. She said, her voice dripping with lethal Midwestern politeness. If you're not in love with him, why exactly are you still here? The waterworks cranked up to 11. She sobbed that I was punishing her for her honesty, that she was in a vulnerable place and I was abandoning her. My dad just looked at me and said, good for you, son. Then he stood up. We're leaving. Leo, call us later. They walked out. My dad shook my hand on the way out the door and my mom whispered. I never liked all that incense anyway. It made me sneeze. That night Aura went scorched earth. She posted a long rambling story on Instagram complete with a black and white selfie of her looking wistful. She wrote about her harrowing escape from a spiritually oppressive and controlling relationship where her creative spirit was being caged by toxic masculine energy. She used my Venmo requests as proof of my financial control, conveniently leaving out the context that they were for her half of our shared bills. She even threw in the catchphrase, "He wanted to flowchart my universe, but a free spirit can't be contained." I didn't respond publicly. Instead, I started a group chat with the dozen or so mutual friends who had started texting me with "Dude, you okay?" I attached a full narrative, the screenshots of her original texts, the itemized spreadsheet of expenses I'd covered for 2 years, and the audio file of her screaming at me. Our friend Mark had the best response. So she wanted the all-inclusive provider package but only wanted to offer the Just Vibing subscription plan. Wild. By evening her Instagram post was gone. The next day she started packing. Turns out after the social media stunt her wealthy parents had seen it, been utterly mortified, and read her the riot act. They told her to get a real job and offered to pay her security deposit just to get her out of my condo and save them any further embarrassment. Just before she left she knocked on my office door. She admitted everything. It was a test. Her new empowerment coach told her that to ascend to the next level of her relationship she had to challenge my commitment and see if I would fight to raise their shared vibration. She genuinely believed that telling me she didn't love me would make me try harder, be more romantic, and prove my worth. It was the most base backwards logic I have ever heard. I just didn't think you'd actually stop loving me. She said, her voice small. I didn't stop loving you, Aura. I said, looking at her for the last time. I just stopped directing that energy towards someone who told me they weren't on the same frequency. I told her that you can't flowchart the universe, but you have to at least be able to read a balance sheet if you want to share one. She nodded, turned, and left. As I type this, the last of her stuff is gone. And I'm not sad. I'm relieved. The air in here feels cleaner. My bank account already looks healthier. I've realized how much of my life was spent managing her whims, funding her fantasies, and being her emotional support animal. I'm free. I've already signed up for a class I've wanted to take for years, a competitive steak grilling workshop. She always said red meat gave me a dense vibration. Right now my vibration is feeling pretty damn good. She just texted asking if I'd reconsider after she's had time to do her shadow work. I didn't respond. I just blocked her number. Sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is just move on. Peace out. I'm going to find someone whose love doesn't come with a business plan I'm expected to fund.